There are small chapters, we will understand it, but it's not very difficult. Now we are looking at different assessments under GST. Self assessment, that means you are only declaring what is your output tax, what is your input tax, and you are paying the tax. That is called self assessment. What is provisional adjustment? One can avail the facility of provisional assessment in two cases: when the taxable person is unable to determine the value of goods, unable to determine the rate of GST. Suppose some item you are not sure, then you can take a provisional assessment. Procedures are given below. So application, you have to apply. A registered person requesting for payment of tax on provisional basis with an application GST ASMT 01 on common portal. The application should be submitted along with documents giving reason for payment of tax on a provisional basis. So that's how you can do it. Then what happens? The order of the assessing officer. The assessing officer give you within 90 days from the receipt of application, within the period of 90 days from receipt of application, the profit officer shall issue an order in GST 04 allowing the payment of tax on a provisional basis, indicating the value or rate on both on which the assessment is allowed to be on provisional basis. Order will be indicate the amount for which the bond is to be executed and security to be furnished on 25%. Then you have to furnish a bond. Then final assessment will come saying that this is how it has to be done or whatever is the correct amount. Now you can understand, by reading itself we find it so difficult. So you can imagine how somebody can try and even do it. Layman cannot do it. Now comes scrutiny of documents. So what happens scrutiny? Law pertaining to scrutiny of documents under 61 is brief, is as follows. If the return is furnished by the registered person by selected for scrutiny, all the returns are not selected for scrutiny. Only certain ones are selected for scrutiny. The proper officer may scrutinize the same return, related particulars furnished by the registered person to verify the correctness of the return. He shall issue a notice to the said person in GST ASMT 10, informing him of such discrepancy, seeking his explanation thereof. A registered person is required to submit his explanation within 30 days from the date of the aforesaid notice. Lot of notices are being sent now. Lot of notices for 2017, 18, 18, 19. So many notices have been issued. The registered person may accept the discrepancies mentioned in the notice and pay the tax. If he accepts it, it will be there. Mainly on input tax credit. Mainly on input tax. Because there is a variation between 2A and 3B. We'll come to that. The alternative, the registered person may furnish an explanation for discrepancy in GST ASMT 11 to the proper officer. If the explanation submitted by registered person is found acceptable, the proper officer will accept it and inform him under AST 12. These are standard forms. Everything is online as far as GST is concerned, and no further action is required. If no satisfactory explanation is furnished within 30 days or extended period, or where the registered person, after accepting the discrepancy, fails to take corrective measure in his return, then what happens? The proper officer may initiate action, including those under section 65, 66, 67, or proceed to determine tax under 75 and 74. So these are the ways of scrutiny. Not all case, wherever they are having some issue, this is all again, they are not selecting, system is throwing up these things. Now for non-filers, what happens? Something called best judgment. He will try to inform, please file the return. If they are not filing it, then he will do a best judgment. Best judgment assessment may be complete by the proper officer within the with the data available. He will do a best judgment in form AST 13. Withdrawal of best judgment, where the registrar furnish a valid return within 30 days of service of the best judgment order, then he can withdraw that best judgment, and the liability for payment of interest under 15, payment of late fee under 47 shall continue. That will continue, but he can withdraw the best judgment assessment. Again, I'm not going into this. Summary assessment and all, I'm not going. Now, interest and late fee applicable. This is also very interesting. Lot of issues are there in this. Suppose you don't file the return or pay the tax. We'll come to that return again once more to understand from the site how it is to be done. If a person is liable to pay tax in accordance with different provisions of GST, fails to pay the tax or part thereof to the government, then what? 18% per annum. Within the prescribed period, 18%. That is 51. 53. A taxable person who makes undue excess claim of input tax credit under 4210 and 4310. An undue reduction of output tax. Undue is a word. Undue or excess income. Then 24%. 54. Where a refund is withheld, a taxable person shall be entitled to interest. That means if refund has to be received by him and is not being paid, then he will get only 6%. 56. If any tax ordered to be refunded is not refunded within 16 days of the date of refund application made by the taxpayer, interest will be paid by the government at 6%. 56. Where any claim of refund arises from an appellate order which has attained finality. Appellate order means something which has been assessed and then you go for further appeal and get it from the next authority, then it's got an appellate order. And the same is not refunded within 30 days, 60 days. Either a receipt of application filed consequent to such order, interest will be paid after 60 days at 9%. So these are different rates of interest. Now, another dangerous thing that is there in the return is this, which is what is a cause of worry for everybody. Late fee. If a person, late fee of submission of returns. Still, I have not told you when you are supposed to file the return. What is the date of payment? When you are supposed to file. But if you delay this thing, if a registered person fails to furnish details of outward and inward supply under these sections, due date by the due date, he is liable to pay 100 for every day of default continues. Maximum late fee 5,000. Can you imagine? That means for every delay, every period delay. So this is only CGST. This is only CGST. This is only CGST. Then SGST is there. So total 10,000. And suppose every month you are supposed to file the return. Monthly return. How much is coming to? 10,000 into 12. 1,20,000 is the payment for just late filing. The guy will run away. He will just vanish. Moreover, if a registered person fails to furnish the return under section 44 by the due date, he shall be liable to late fee of 100 per day, during which default continues. Maximum quantum of this thing, 1/4 of this turnover in the state. Maximum, that is limit. Waiver of late fees. The aforesaid late fee has been waived by the government from time to time under different notifications. Tables are as follows. Even though this is the rate, they have been waiving it time and again. But yesterday also I was talking to another chartered accountant on this because he had asked me a doubt. So I had to look at some notification which has come as late as 24th of June. So waiver late fees is waived by the government as follows. Late submission of return GSTR 1, 3B, 4. If it is not a nil return, late fee for every day during the default continues is 25 per day. Instead of 100, it is 25. If it is an nil return, 10 per day. Still they are not allowing it. But that is for this thing. But if late fee, if for the months of July to September, not submitted within the due date, but submitted during December 22nd and March 31st, it is nil. So they had waived it completely in between. Now again, now 24th, 6th, they have brought in this thing where there is a reduced rate of interest. That's why this is all keeping on changing. So difficult to remember this. Now the problem was those people who paid penalty or late fee earlier, they cannot get the money back because this came later. So that's the trouble in the law now, because they are giving these waivers, and people who have genuinely, taken part in and made their proper payment, they lose. Last one is penalty. Now penalty under this thing, incidence of short payment of tax or erroneous refund or wrong availment of input tax may be because of the following reasons. Why? Normal case, by mistake. See, you can always make a mistake, right? Inadvertent bona fide mistake. Fraud cases is a deliberate attempt to. So there are two situations. This is normal, this is fraud. There are two different things, very dangerous, because the uh, penal provisions are very different for both of them. Now the question is, the government will try to say that you are trying to do a fraud, and you have to say no, no, it's a mistake, it's an inadvertent mistake. In these two cases, the nature of offense is totally different. Nature of offense is totally different. Consequently, separate provisions for recovery of tax and penalty have been made. Moreover, these provisions are to encourage voluntary compliance, such as no penalty or lesser penalty if the due tax along with interest is paid within the specified limits. That means if the amount is paid, this will be withdrawn. So tax along with interest paid before the issue of notice. If it is paid before the issue of notice, that is, we know they have been discussing and they are demanding it, but they have not issued the notice. No penalty. Normal case, no penalty shall be levied. But if it is fraud, then you have to pay 15% of tax and no notice shall be issued. So the problem is, if you are able to you have made a mistake and you are accepting it and you're paying it, no problem. Now, tax along with interest paid within 30 days from the issue of notice. Again, try to understand. Here, no notice. Here, notice has been issued, but within 30 days, you are settling it. No penalty, all proceedings being to be concluded. Here, but from 25%, it has increased to 15% to 25%. But again, he is, at least he can be safe. He doesn't have to have problem. Tax along with interest is paid within 30 days of communication of order. This is notice. After notice, still you have not paid, then becomes an order. And you are paying within 30 days of the order. Then you have to pay 10% of the tax. You can't escape. Or 10,000, whichever is higher, whichever is higher. Just see the difference. How the as time goes, your default increases or your meter increases. Whereas for a fraud case, it becomes 50%. And last one, tax along with interest paid after 30 days of communication of the order. So order has happened after 30 days only, you don't pay, and after that you pay. This stays as no problem, same. But here you have, it is fraud case 100%. So fraud people have to be very careful. That is the. But even we have to be careful, because if we are able to solve it and pay it, then there's no problem. But if you don't agree to it, then you have to go for appeal and things like that. No penalty is levied in cases where self-assessed tax or any amount collected as tax is paid with interest within 30 days from the due date of payment. Time for issue, I'm not getting into that. That's not really normal case. What is the time limit they have given? I'll just read it. Normal case, they have got time till 2 years and 9 months from the due date of filing of the annual return for the financial year to which the demand pertains, or from that date. So they have got 2 years and 9 months to issue the notice. So you can imagine how much time they have got from the due date of filing the annual return for the financial year in which the demand is. So from the due date of annual return, they have got so much time. Fraud cases, 4 years they have got and 6 months from the due date of filing the return. So mind you, whenever the due date is getting extended, of filing the annual return. From that time, you have got 2 years. For example, as I told you yesterday, 2018-19, the last date for annual return GSTR 9 is extended to November 2020 now. Sorry, December 2020. See, 2020. So from that time, they have got 2 years and 9 months. So that means 2020. 2 years means 2022, and 9 months is when? September 2023. They have got time to issue notice. Whereas for here, they've got 4 years. Sorry. 4 years means when? 2024 and 6 months. That is 2000 June 2024, 25. He has got time. Till that time, they have got time to issue notice. Okay. So that more or less completes our assessment, and I'll come to tax invoice later. But before that, let us do some problems, because the problem, if you do only, you will get it. But before the problem, I just want to show you something as far as returns are concerned. Returns, we discussed many returns, right? Normally, you got, let me explain, then we'll come to the problem. I'm taking the main returns, not all the returns. For normal return, that means there are, as I told you, normal case, composition dealer is a normal dealer. Normal dealer, there are mainly, these are the returns that he has to file. GSTR 1. What is this? Sales details. Please take note. I'll show you in the website of live case. I will show you soon. So GSTR 1, sales details. GSTR 3B is the net tax details. There is output how much, input how much, balance tax how much. GSTR 9. This is annual return. And there is one more, is there, GSTR 9C, which is the audit report. That is only in certain cases it will come. Now, on a regular basis, if the turnover, so here also there are two classifications. Greater than 1.45 crores turnover, then monthly. Less than 1.5 crores, then quarterly. Choice is there. Here there is no choice. It is monthly. For greater than one, this thing, the last date is 11th. That is, I'm just writing here 11th. And for this, it is quarterly, right? 31st of next month of the quarter. That means for September, it is 31st of October. For December is 31st of January. This is monthly. This is by the 20th generally, but there are some staggered dates about 22nd, 23rd because of the portal problem. Because everybody tries to do it, it becomes a problem. Okay, and GSTR 9 theoretically is 31/12. Sorry, yeah, 31/12 of from that month year end. That means this is, for example, for 2019-20, the due date is 31/12/2020. This is also same 31/12/2020. Now, mind you, from that date. But mind you, because the 1819 is still delayed, so this is anyway going to be delayed. But this is the standard due date. For composition dealer, again there is a sales. He doesn't have to, because he doesn't have to he doesn't have to give. For composition dealer generally cannot issue B2B invoice. That means he cannot pass on input tax credit. Therefore he doesn't have the GSTR 1 and 3B and all that. He has got only GSTR 4 or 4A, whatever one of them, I don't remember the name. Well, check. Only one return. This has to be done quarterly, and I think by the 20th of the quarter, like the this 31st, not 31st, 20th of the month after the quarter. 21st or 31st, I'll check. I don't remember this. That will check. I'll check. So this is the basic structure. There are other returns, but I'm not getting into that. These are the main things. So if you want, you can copy it down. This time is short. Just see if you can copy it down. Please copy it down.